What would you do if the government decided to run a major road right through your property? Well, for one man, the answer was, get off my lawn. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1865, Harry William Croft was born right at the dawn of what would become one of the most transformative periods in American industrial history. He came of age in western Pennsylvania's steel country at exactly the right time, and he found his way into exactly the right business. The business was refractories. If the word doesn't ring a bell, here's the short version. Refractories are heat-resistant materials, bricks, linings, and ceramic products designed to withstand extreme temperatures. Without refractory bricks, you can't line a blast furnace. Without a blast furnace, you can't make steel. And in the late 19th century, Pittsburgh was making a lot of steel. The company Harry Croft would eventually lead, Harbison Walker Refractories, had its roots in a modest outfit called the Starfire Brick Company, founded in 1865 by a group of 11 Allegheny County residents. It was a small operation, but it had landed in one of the most explosive growth markets in American history. Carnegie Steel became one of their biggest customers. As Andrew Carnegie's empire expanded, so did the demand for the heat-resistant bricks that made the furnaces possible. By 1902, Harbison Walker had grown from that single-strip district plant to an operation encompassing 33 refractory plants across the country. Harry Croft rose through the ranks during this extraordinary period of expansion. He climbed to the presidency of Harbison Walker. Under his watch, the company navigated the challenges of World War I when labor shortages made it impossible to run at full capacity. Between 1916 and 1918, Harbison Walker employees saw 7 separate wage increases, effectively doubling their pay. And then in the summer of 1919, Harry Croft retired from the presidency. When Harry and his wife Augusta went looking for a place to retire, they didn't settle for a nice house on a few acres. They bought 5 farms in the mid-country area of Greenwich, Connecticut, and assembled them into a single estate of 287 acres. The name they chose was Grahampton, a tribute to Augusta's maiden name, Graham. It was her estate as much as it was his, and that partnership would define every aspect of the property, from the architecture of the house to the design of its celebrated gardens. For the architecture, the Crofts turned to a firm they would have known well from Pittsburgh, Janssen Abbott. Benno Janssen and Franklin Abbott were by 1916 among the most respected architects in western Pennsylvania. The house they designed is a stately brick manor topped with a slate roof, a material choice that speaks to the permanence and old-world craftsmanship. At roughly 12,300 square feet, it is a substantial home by any measure, with 7 bedrooms, 7 full baths, and 11 fireplaces spread across its floors. But the numbers don't capture the character of the place. The experience of Grahampton begins at the front doors, which open into a striking entrance hall that announces the home's ambitions immediately. The hall features a soaring, hand-painted barrel ceiling, an exquisite piece of decorative artwork that draws the eye upward the moment you step inside. Below it, dramatic dual staircases sweep up from either side of the space, framing the entry with a symmetry that feels both grand and welcoming. The floor is laid in a classic black and white checkerboard pattern, and graceful archways lead off in every direction. The living room steps down from the main hall, a subtle but effective architectural move that creates a sense of arrival as you enter the space. It's a fully paneled room with an intricate Jacobean ceiling featuring delicate tracery work, the kind of detail that rewards close inspection. French windows open onto a brick porch, flooding the room with natural light and connecting the interior to the grounds beyond. Every room at Grahampton is characterized by grand proportions and high ceilings, such as the dining room, with a level of meticulous detailing that reflects the standards of early 20th century estate architecture at its best. And despite its massive scale, the rooms were made to feel appropriate for their functions, perhaps being best demonstrated by the coziness and livability of Harry's study. Now, if the house was Harry's monument, the gardens were Augusta's, and they were spectacular. The original landscape design was the work of James L. Greenleaf, a respected landscape architect who began working on the property in 1916, concurrent with the house's construction. Greenleaf worked closely with Augusta Croft herself. This was very much a collaborative endeavor, and together they undertook a remarkable transformation. The raw material they had to work with was decidedly unglamorous pastures, orchards, and marshy grounds spread across those 5 former farms. What they created from it was something approaching paradise. Greenleaf and Mrs. Croft laid out tended walkways and extensive stonework, creating structure and formality in a landscape that had known only agricultural pragmatism. They designed pools that caught the light and reflected the sky. Boxwood-lined paths wound through the property, connecting garden rooms and creating a sense of journey and discovery. Flower beds were planted with delphiniums, foxgloves, and irises, a palette that would have produced waves of blue, purple, pink, and white through the growing season. And at the terminus of a set of stone steps, they placed a statue of Diana with her leaping dog, a classical touch that anchored the garden's most dramatic vista. The Crofts weren't finished. They later brought in Ellen Biddle Shipman, one of the most celebrated landscape architects of the early 20th century, to design an additional garden for the estate. Shipman, who was known for her lush painterly approach to garden design, added another layer of sophistication to what was already an extraordinary landscape. As the government was planning Merritt Parkway, however, it was proposed that the new road would cut straight through the manicured estate. Harry refused to be disturbed, and even more so, to trade his house for a parkway. He and other politically connected residents teamed up to help push the road northward, creating the unusual bulge in the parkway that still remains through Greenwich. After enjoying his dream estate for 3 full decades, Harry passed away in 1947 at the age of 81. The 287-acre property was gradually subdivided over the decades that followed. The road that runs through the former estate today is called Grahampton Lane, a name that preserves the memory of what once was, even as the land itself has been parceled out for individual homes. But here's the remarkable thing: the house itself survives. The brick manor that Janssen and Abbott designed still stands, sitting on about 5 acres. The house has been modernized over the years. It would be nearly impossible to live in a century-old home otherwise, but the bones of the Janssen and Abbott design remain intact. The dual staircases, the paneled living room with its coffered ceiling, the exceptional hardware and French windows, all of it survives. There's something poignant about the fact that the Merritt Parkway still curves around a property that no longer exists, in the form Harry Croft was protecting. The 287 acres are gone, broken into dozens of individual parcels. The gardens are gone, the 5 farms that the Crofts consolidated are now a neighborhood, a very nice neighborhood to be sure, but a neighborhood nonetheless. And yet, the house stands. Not bad for a man who made his fortune in firebricks. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you like best about Grahampton? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.